Hello everyone, welcome to Learn with Techies channel. In this video, we will be covering input, output and operators in Java. The content of this video is receiving inputs in Java, type conversions in Java, like how we convert one type of data into another type, arithmetic operations in Java, like how do we solve some expressions which have multiple operators involved, and then we will end this with a practice exercise. So before we start the video, let's talk about the practice exercise that we were discussing in our last video. I'll just quickly provide you a solution and explain to you how did we come to that solution. So the question for last week was, given the length of a rectangle, breadth of a rectangle, we have to calculate the perimeter of the rectangle. The formula for that was 2 into length plus breadth. So let's move ahead and see how I solved that, and you can comment in the video how you solved that problem. So here, if you see, I created a variable known as length. I provided it a value. Then I created a variable known as breadth, and then I provided it some value. Then I did the sum of both of them, like that is, I created a new variable and provided the sum as length plus breadth. And then I created a new variable perimeter and just multiplied 2 into whatever sum I got, and then I printed this out. If I cleared this terminal, we are getting 60, which is correct, like 10 plus 20 is 30 and 30 into 2 is 60. So I hope you have also solved this question, and if you have doubts, do comment in the videos if I missed something or you did in some other way. So now let's go back to our video. Receiving inputs in Java. Till now, we were just assuming the variable value. For the program we talked before, every time we want to run the program, we will get the same value of perimeters. If we want to calculate perimeters for some other values, we have to replace the existing length and breadth variable with new values. To make this more generalized, ideally, program should ask the user for the input, which user can give through the keyboard. For these scenarios, Java provides certain functions through which user can read the inputs provided through the keyboard. One of the easiest way to receive inputs in Java is through scanner class. So scanner class is a class in Java package that is used for obtaining inputs from the keyboard. If we want to use the scanner class, first we have to create an object of that scanner class. In Java, whenever we want to create an object, we use this keyword new. If you add a new to a class, that means you are creating an object. So here SC is an object of a scanner class. This would be confusing as of now because we don't know what is class, what is object. For now, just remember, each time you have to take an input, you will write this line. This line will create an object of this scanner class, like here SC is that object, and then you can use this to read lines or integers or any input type. So how does scanner work? So what scanner does, it will read an entire line and then divide the line into tokens. What are tokens? They are small element that can be understood by compiler. So suppose this is an input string. Welcome to Learn with Techies. So here the scanner object will read this line and then take all of these words and like welcome to Learn with Techies. It will take all these words and convert them into tokens. The object, the scanner object, then iterates over this all of the words or all of the tokens and read each tokens using different methods. To read a int value, we use next int. To read a string value, we use next line. To read a character, we use next.char 0. What does this next function does? Basically, it gives you the next token, and then depending on whether it's an int, whether it's a character, you can use different functions to read the characters or int. Now there's one more method, has next. So if you want to know the next value that you are provided is of certain data types, then you can use this function like has next int, that will tell okay the next value has int data types, and so forward. Let's go and practice this in our Visual Studio Code. So here we are back in our class. So all of this is pre-set up as we have already discussed in our previous videos. So let's start using this object. So suppose we want to read some input from the keyboard. First we will write this line. We will create a scanner object, scanner system dot in. So this object is now created. If you see, as soon as we did that, this was auto imported. What does this tell? That okay, we are importing a class. This scanner's class we are importing. That's what it's telling. So once it's imported, we can go ahead and we can read something like, let me read one value. One. If you see, all of these function we are getting. Next int. Let me read some character, char a equals to sc dot next. Let me run this function. So let's run this program. You see, the cursor is here. So it will not move unless you provide an input. I'll go ahead and provide a number. Then I'll provide line. So if you see, here it did now 1 into 10, 12 into 10, 120. And the next it printed the character, only the first character from techies. So it printed the T. So here you can pass anything like next line, in which it will read the whole next line. So let's try this has next method also. Since it returns a true or false, I'll do this. Then sc dot has next. Let me try int. And then let's print it. I'll edit this. I'll try tech. And then 67. So saying result is true. Now let's write this again. So if you see, the result is false, because we said that it will be int, but it's said we said it's an int, but it's a number. That so scanner is the easiest way to read input in Java, but it's not efficient when you're doing competitive coding question where timing and efficiency is really important. There is one more effective way of reading inputs that is generally used industry wide, that is buffered reader class. But it's little complicated and I don't want to confuse you all, so I have posted a link in the description if you want to learn more about it. We will also cover these concepts in the future videos where we are doing more competitive coding. Now let's move ahead and talk about type conversion. What is type conversion? Type conversion is basically converting one data type into another. So Java has 4 primitive data types. So these type conversion help you to convert one data type into another data type. So your next question will be, why do we actually need type conversions? So let's take a scenario. Suppose you want to divide 8 divided by 3. Now ideally 8 and 3 both are integer data type. So the result will also be an integer. So your result will be 2. But suppose you wanted the decimal value, you wanted the whole decimal result of this one. So for those kind of scenarios, you will be using type conversions. So you are taking 2 int, but you are wanting the result as in double. So these are some of the scenarios, like one of the scenario basically, where type conversions is used. In Java, the type conversion is of two types, implicit type conversion and explicit type conversion. Implicit type conversion is an automatic type conversion. It can happen if both types are compatible and target type is larger than the source type. So the basic rule of thumb for this one is like small data type and large data type are combined together using any kind of operator like plus, minus, division, modulus. Then that will be converted into a large data type. So if you see an int, if combined together with any operator will give you an int. A real plus real will give you an real. Int plus real, that will also give you an real because real is a bigger data type. Byte plus int will also give you an int because int is a bigger, and in the same way char plus int will also give you an int data type as a result because that's a bigger. Explicit type conversion is when you assign larger data type to a smaller data type, or you do any other kind of forceful conversions. We can quickly cover this with the help of an example. So here we are back again. We have the class already created, and we also have already this scanner class which will take the inputs. So let's take one integer value. Now let's take a double value. Let's create a result, like let's do a multiplication between both of them, a into. So ideally if you put it something like this, int res, it will start giving an error because it's saying like it's an implicit type conversion. So ideally both of them are, the result will automatically convert it into double, and you are trying to assign it to an int. So here I'll put it something like this, and now you're not getting an. Let me print this up. It's 8.0. This is an example of implicit type conversion. Now let's try any explicit type conversions example. So as per the examples we were discussing at the earlier, where we want to divide. So we take an variable, where an int variable, and then we take another variable, another int variable, and let's try to print this result. So here if you see, you take an int value, you divide it with an int value. So implicit conversion type, the data will remain an int. So if I run this up, it will ask me for, like, let's put 8 here, then 3. The result is true, 2. But now if you want to convert it explicitly, like you want a float or a double value, so what you need to do, you need to add this here. Let me put float. Let me clear this up. Now the same example, I am putting 8 and then 3. So this time the result is in float. So this is where, once you add this as in bracket, this is how we do the explicit type conversion. You are explicitly telling the compiler that this result needs to be converted into a float value. Now let's talk about arithmetic operations. Before we go into the actual theory of same, let's try a example here. So suppose you inputted this operation here and you want to see the result. What do you think? What will be the result? Ideally you will think that okay, 8 minus 3 is 5 and 5 into 4 is 20. So the result should be 20. Let's run this up. So here's a surprise for you. The result is -4. Why it is that? It's because in Java, like mathematics, there is a precedence of operation. That is, an operator with higher precedence will be solved first. That's why here first multiplication is done and then subtraction is done, because multiplication has a higher precedence. Let's go back into the presentation and learn more about that. While solving an expression, two things must be kept into mind. The first is the precedence and second is associativity. What is precedence? Precedence means if different operators are used together, which will be evaluated first. So as you see in the previous example, although subtraction and multiplication was done together in the same expression, it's because multiplication has higher precedence, it's solved first. If you see in the diagram also, here the first one is like first precedence priority is given to multiplication, division and modulus. The second priority goes to addition and subtraction. And the third priority goes to assignment operator. One more thing is here that you need to remember is that parenthesis, which is not an operator, but ideally it holds the highest precedence. Also, if there are many parentheses, then the innermost parenthesis will be solved first. Let's try to go into Visual Studio Code. In the same example, we realize that okay, multiplication has higher precedence, so it was done first. But suppose now I add this bracket in here. This time the answer is 20. Why? Because here, since we provided the parenthesis around 8 minus 3, so it has the highest precedence. So now it's like 8 minus 3, 5, and then 5 into 4 equals to 20. Hence you have this answer 20. Now let's try something complicated. Let's do something like this. What do you think the answer will be? It will be 8 minus 3, 5 into, since this is also in a bracket, this will be solved first. 4 plus 5, 9. So like it's 5 into 9, 45. 45. And if you do something like this now, let's go back to the previous example. So ideally here, the bracket part will be solved first. And in the bracket also, since multiplication has the higher precedence, so it will be 8 into 3, 24, minus 2, 22, and then into 4, that is 88. Run it. This is the expression we are getting. But here if I did something like this, if I added one more parenthesis. So now, as what we have discussed earlier, if there is an internal parenthesis, then it has the highest precedence. So here now, 3 minus 2, that has the higher precedence. So it will be 8 into 1 and then into 4. It's 32. Now let us try one more operation. Here now we are confused because here multiplication and division, both of them have the same precedence. So which will go first? Let's print it out to see. So here we see that multiplication was done first. Sorry, division was done first. It's 3 by 2, that's 1, into 5, that's 5. So why did this happen? Like why division was given precedence over multiplication? So now there is one more theory into play, associativity. So now let's talk about associativity. What does this mean? If an expression has two operators with similar precedence, the expression is evaluated according to associativity, that is either left to right or right to left. If you see in the diagram, each type of operators has different precedence, like multiplication, addition, those kind of, and modulus, all of them are left to right, while some statement like assignment, like equals to, and all of those have precedence right to left. That's why if you remember in that example, division was done first because division and multiplication both have an associativity from left to right. And since division was the leftmost operator, that's why it was done first. If you see here, most of them are left to right only, except some of them like assignment operator, which is right to left. Let's go into Visual Studio Code. And so since we already discussed division, since it's on the leftmost side, so it was done first. Suppose we have an int a equals to 1, int b equals to 2, int c equals to 3, and we did something like this, a equals to b equals to c. What do you think the answer will be? You see, all of them are now 3. Why is it that? Because assignment operator, like we saw in the diagram, has an associativity from right to left. So first, b equals to c is solved. Like whatever value is in the c, that will move to b. So now b is also 3. And then a equals to b is solved. That is now whatever value is in the b, that will go into a. So now a is also 3. That's why if you print all of the 3 values, those are 3 only. You don't need to memorize everything here. Most of the time, the precedence and associativity of operators make sense in itself. Also, just to avoid confusion, like how I also do now, that you can use parenthesis if you want to make your code easier to understand. Since we know that the parenthesis has the highest precedence, so if you start combining your expression to parenthesis, it will be easier to understand. That's it for this video. Thanks a lot for joining us in this journey, and do follow and subscribe us for more contents. Do also comment in the videos if you want me to cover more topics. Thank you and have a nice day.